Hey guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Job chapter 9, Job paints the picture of an individual who wants to bring God to court, but knows that it would do no good, that there's no way he could win a case against God, that God would always have the upper hand in if he ever tried to do so. And so Job feels utterly helpless, as is depicted in Job chapter 9. And one of the reasons why he feels this way is because he recognizes just how much God has control over him, and that he really has nothing that he can do to fight back against God when God does what he wants to do, and that there's nothing he can do to coerce God or to force God to do what he wants. He's completely at the mercy of God. He says in verse 1, then Job answered and said, in truth, I know that this is so, but how can a man be in the right before God? If one desired to contend with him, he could not answer him once in 1,000 times. And then he says in verse 10, who does great things, talking about God, who does great things, unsearchable, and wondrous works innumerable. Were he to sweep by me, I would not see him. Were he to move past me, I would not perceive him. Were he to snatch away, who could turn him back? Who could say to him, what are you doing? Job, in his suffering, had come to realize that he was not in control. And he realized that no matter how much he would want God to change his situation, there was nothing that he could do. He felt completely and absolutely helpless. I think sufferings do a good job of putting us in those types of situations where we have to recognize the same thing. You know, when we're in the good times, when we have a job and we're making money and there's plenty of money in the bank account, plenty of food in the pantry to eat, our bills are paid, we're healthy, when everything is going well, we kind of get this sense of being in control. We feel as though we've got, everything under control. We are able to direct our lives in the direction we want to go. And if nothing else, we can maintain. But it's when we hit those hard times, when things come into our lives that we don't have control over, maybe financial ruin or some type of health issue or something like that. It's at those times when we realize, you know what, I'm not really in control, and I am absolutely and completely dependent on the mercy of God. And it's only God who can help me in this situation. And even if he does help me, it's only out of his own goodwill. And there's nothing that I can do to twist his arm or force him to help me. I just absolutely and completely have to depend on him. And so sufferings do a good job of teaching us that very lesson. But that doesn't mean that we can't live that way, even though we might not be in the midst of suffering at the present moment. You know, as we read the book of Job can impress this upon our minds and on our hearts. Even though we might be in the good times, we can remind ourselves and say, you know what, really, you boil it all down, I'm really not in control. Everything that I have is just a blessing from God. If I'm in the good times, it's only because the Lord is holding me up, and I could just as easily crash to the ground. I could just as easily go to ruin. And my life is just as dependent on him in these good times as it would be if I was in complete duress and distress and in a situation similar to Job. So let's remember this. As we go to the Lord in prayer each and every day, we do it with a heart that realizes that it's completely dependent on him, but at the same time trusting in him. Let's go to him and recognize that we are not in control of our lives, that ultimately he is in control, and live a life in submission to him and recognizing his authority, his rule over our lives and over all of creation, so that we can give him the honor and the glory that he deserves. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.